Hello there, everybody out there in UK Comic Book Land. I'm here with Amen Alonge to talk about his debut novel. If you could give us a quick summary of the plot, please, Amen.
Hello, everyone. My debut novel, Good Day to Die, is sort of focused on sort of like a mysterious character that returns to London after a decade from in exile for vengeance. But his return sort of sets off a chain of events that quickly makes him the hunter, the hunted. But he would do everything to survive and exact vengeance or die trying. So that is sort of
Yeah,
the plot of it. And as the title says, it's all in a day, and a lot of stuff happens.
yeah. What made you decide to go for gangland, given that your background has nothing to do with that kind of genre at all?
I know, I think I enjoy that background, and the sort of thing is not it's not in novels as much hard as mine is, I suppose, but I do enjoy it in like in all sorts of fiction, and even in true crime stuff, I do enjoy that whole sort of because the stakes are a bit higher in that sort of way, and I just thought like when I came up with the story for it, I just felt that's where it should go. It should go as as violent and as hard as that, just to just to show what we're dealing with. That sort of
Yeah,
thing. So that's where it just naturally went. I thought of the story, and that's where the story naturally went. So and even it was until the end that I started thinking about what sort of genre it was, which obviously on its face is gangland, but it was after I wrote it, I knew the story, and it was now when I was trying to pitch it to try to find an agent, and I was like, oh, what exactly is this? And that's when I just,
yeah.
okay, yeah, this is what it is. So yeah.
Because when I was doing research, I discovered that you'd was training to be a solicitor. So I was a bit surprised that it wasn't
I know,
illegal.
and I know. It's a bit of a weird one, and as we was just talking about, in the second one, they're lawyers in the second one. So there's a bit more of my world in the second one. They're corporate lawyers and they're criminal lawyers, in about in the second one. But in this, so that is a bit more about what we're used to. But yeah, I kind of and I sort of see myself writing a legal drama.
Yeah,
I think I could do that. I think that'll be a place to go eventually. The more experience I get, the more I know about it. I think that could be a way to go.
yeah, because you've got quite, I'd say, quite a wide-ranging background. I mean,
Yeah,
you're a partial owner of your own food company of all things. I mean, yeah,
I know, I know. I think I sort of went through a stage in my life where I just thought I have to pursue everything I want to do, kind of thing. Before I became, I guess, a father and whatnot. So I just wanted to do everything I thought I had, an interesting, and then eventually find what I want to settle in. And I'm so thankful and I'm so grateful to life and everything else that what I mean. It sort of worked out perfectly.
yeah,
I don't know if you could just hear my baby there, but yeah. So everything just sort of worked out. I got the training contract, got a book deal, and I have a 1 year old son all in one. So it's been a wonderful life. It's been really really fun for me. So yeah.
yeah. I've noticed that you've put a picture of your son on Twitter with holding the book. What was it like
Yeah.
to get him to sit still long enough so you could take the photo?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The good thing is he likes paper because he likes to eat paper. So you just give it to him for a second. So
Yeah,
before he starts to eat it, you just take the pictures and he just looks cute for a second, and then you have to grab it away from him before he devours the whole thing. But it's wonderful. He's crawling about now. He's almost walking. So it's you know you know again I thank the world for this. But yeah, it's awesome to have him, and to use him to exploit him to make people like me and buy the book by putting a picture in Twitter, order the book. So yeah, so that's good.
well, I suppose as he's not old enough to understand it yet, he can take later
Yeah,
pictures and then
kind of
and
thing,
then
and
just
he's not
embarrass
paying
him
rent or
later.
anything.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah,
Um,
no, it's awesome.
yeah. The book's not been out for very long, but
Yeah.
you've already been on stage and done your first event.
Yes, yes, yes. The first one was Bay Tales live, which I guess the pseudo first one was at the virtual one, which I knew you were at, and that was my first reading. So Bay Tales have been very good to me, and that was a lot of fun. And the live one was wonderful. It was my first time up north. Well, I did school in Edinburgh, so yeah, but I never
Yeah.
stopped, in England per se, so it was a lot of fun. Everybody was really nice, and it was a really good experience. And Olivia and Trevor, who were on the panel with me, were really, really, really nice. You know what I mean? And Simon, who
Yeah.
regulated or moderated. It was such a wonderful experience. And all the other authors were really nice. Everybody, the people there were really nice, and also I got to do my first signing as well. Which is really odd. Like somebody coming to buy your book and wanted to sign is like, you really want this? Like, yes, they do. So,
Yeah.
that was awesome.
Um, I've been to many festivals before, but what was your first signing queue experience before you became an author? Who did you
My
first
first
come up
signing
with?
queue experience before I became an author was I'm trying to think. I think it was. I don't even know what. I think it was an event in London. I went with a friend in time, and it was Martina Cole.
Yeah.
So so it was a long queue, and much longer than mine, and much less time. It was just very quick, just
Yeah.
just, signing it. But it was fun, kind of like I'm sure I still have the book. I think I
Yeah.
do. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was my first signing experience. You know what I mean? And yeah, but that was my first signing experience in regards to books. But in regards to sports, woo,
Yeah.
I'm well ahead. I'm well ahead in that game. So yeah,
Yeah.
kind of
Because
thing.
you've got
Yeah.
a family links to the Nigerian Football League, I believe. Your family
Yes, we do.
owns the rights to. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So that's what I sort of did. Like as I was saying to you, I was trying to find myself, and thankfully I sort of had this role in the family firm to fall back on while I was out there, trying to review restaurants and write books and all that sort of stuff. So and in that sort of thing we were doing because we had the rights to the Nigerian Football League, as you said, you get to meet sports people, and we also had a venture with a digital like sports media company. So they would do interviews and stuff like all the people that sort of do the the talking head stuff for the Premier League weekly or something. So that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
you get to meet them. Yeah. So they'll be in studio. You meet them, and it's almost like a professional capacity. So they don't really think you're a fanboy until the
Yeah.
end when you when you pull out something for them to sign. You know what I mean? But it's all been going really well. It's like, oh yeah, can you look that way? Can all professional until like, yeah, can you sign this for me? Yeah, but yeah, that was fun. That was a good few years for me. That was awesome.
So, what what is the team you support locally now you live in London? Who do you follow?
Man United.
Fair enough. Fair
Man,
enough.
what team do you support?
I support Newcastle, so
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
someone's got to
Yo,
do it.
you guys, I know. You guys are, you're on a good run, I have to say. I know we're going to
Yeah.
talk football for a bit now. Sorry, everybody. But, you're on a good run. And I didn't see it coming. I didn't think Eddie Howe was the right person, but he seemingly is. And, you have Joe
Yeah.
Linton flying about and everybody's doing well. And it's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Bit of a surprise because I wasn't thinking that Eddie Howe would be great either. To be fair.
Yeah, you see,
Yeah.
because he leaks goals. Well, Bournemouth leaked goals,
Yeah.
and I think you guys needed a solid defense, and you know what I mean. So I was a bit worried about that, but it seems like you made good signings, and I don't really think it's the signings. I just think it's the same players and just playing better. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Really.
And yeah, he's all what's his name again? The striker that got injured. They used to be in Bournemouth again. They used to be quite good.
That would can't even remember his name now. Yeah,
Yeah,
we saw that many strikers and players. We every team in the Premier League has got an ex Newcastle player in it somewhere. So
so yeah, but I think touch wood. I think you guys are away. You guys are not going to get relegated, which is, I don't even know why I'm happy about it because next year, the Saudis are going to pour so much money in it, and then
Yeah.
Man United is going to go from fourth to fifth, and it's all going to be over. All the glory days are going to be done. But yeah.
Well, how long have you been a Man U fan? Was it always?
Yeah, it was always, it was probably, as far as long as I can remember, really, because my older siblings, I have older siblings were Man United fans, so
Yeah.
so that was just it. I think this were the glory days of, Dwight York and Andy Cole and
Yeah.
Sheringham and Solskjaer and Beckham, Scholes, that whole team. I could name the whole
Yeah.
bit. That was the glory days. And in Nigeria, unfortunately, we glory hunt. We don't like, we have no local teams, so we go for the good teams. So
Yeah.
most Nigerians are either Man United fans, then latterly Arsenal fans, because
Yeah.
Arsenal came back with Henry and Vieira and them lot, and then Chelsea. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's almost like they stopped at Chelsea because they're not that many Man City fans. It's random. You know what I mean? So there's a
Yeah.
lot of United, and even before United, there are a lot of Liverpool fans.
Yeah.
So there's Liverpool, Man United, and then Arsenal, then Chelsea, and they're like, no, 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 we don't care about Man City. No, we don't.
Yeah.
Keep Man City. And so
Yeah.
that's what
Fair
it goes.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's fun for us.
Now, I've read a couple of books based in Nigeria, like Femi Kaidi's The Light Seekers. Um, what um, what make I know you now living in London, but have you ever
Yeah.
considered writing a book from the Nigerian perspective?
Oh yeah. I have two ideas. You know,
Yeah.
I have sort of broached one with Anthony, my agent. You know, but I've sort of broached it, and he sort of like he wants me to retool it a little bit. He wants me to consider making it YA a little bit, and that's something that I haven't really considered because
Yeah.
I haven't read YA and I haven't really watched YA. But I think when I'm done with this, I would do some research on that and see how I can do that. So I have one idea that is that I think could run. Then I
Yeah.
have another idea as well, for, sort of like a detective, sort of like, a private detective sort of thing in Lagos because, Lagos is a bit of a weird one because the wealthy people are very wealthy and the poor people are very poor.
Yeah.
And and the only way they mix is if, the wealthy person has a servant or anything. But then there are a lot more poor people. I think it's maybe almost like 90 something percent. So
Yeah.
just that whole thing and just putting that social situation in the forefront, but not the forefront. There's like a murder that's been investigated, but there's all that whole sort of thing that you just have to consider and look at. And that's something I I'm really keen on. I'm one of those people that I already have all the beats of the story. I've sort of written it down on my iPhone, you know, my notes. So I know all the beats of it. I know where I want it to go. I also even know how I have it as a continual series. You know what I mean? And I think I think it'll be fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Actually, because I went to Nigeria like 2 years ago, and I thought, yeah, this could be, this could really, really work. I think, and especially because people are now embracing the whole, different cultures. Book set in India, book set. People are
Yeah.
embracing those things. As a sort of like voyeuristic way of traveling there. So
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it because I do must admit I do that with a lot of Abir Mukherjee's stuff. I feel like I'm in India when I'm reading his. So
yeah, I know, same. That's exactly why I mentioned that because I've never been to India, but it seems like I've
yeah,
been because I've read a few books that it's like, oh, okay, so you can sort of
yeah.
visualize it a little bit. Yeah, so
When you were working on it, your stuff, were you influenced by your film qualification when you're doing writing?
um I, I think the film qualification thing was, you know, I think that sort of helped me a little bit, because I sort of went in there with like grand ideas what I could do, and you know what I mean, and you sort of realize that film is a business. You know what I mean? You can't just go in there and think of, when you're writing a story, or you can't kill like 14 people, or you can't you have to limit your scope to the budget, so you have to think
Yeah,
of the business side first. So even like even like if you want to write sci-fi, or even if you want to write something that happens in Nigeria, You have to consider all those things, like taking the whole cast to Nigeria, all that sort of things you can do. So that sort of like made me be creative in telling a story that in my head was big, but limiting it, like limiting the scenes, limiting the people, that the dialogue, all that sort of stuff, and just it made me a better writer in that way. So it also made me quite visual. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've noticed this in A Good Day to Die, in that it's quite visual. The two perspectives are quite visual when you're in Pretty Boy's
Yeah.
head and when you're not. You can, what they see, what they hear is quite visual in that way. So I definitely, there is some I have learned from that. And I'm thankful for that experience as well.
It does
Yeah.
come
So yeah.
across. It does come across in the fight scenes. It's like because you're describing each like not blow by blow, but as it gets, because it's not a I wouldn't call it a fluffy book.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
agree.
violent
Yeah,
book.
I agree.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
for the for people that don't like violence, I think.
Yeah, I know what you mean by describing the fight scenes, because I try to describe every impact, the sound it makes, how the wind, when all that sort of stuff. I try to spit that, I try and make it as like you're in there with them, like that. It's like a tight shot. That sort of, it's like a tight shot on the fight. Like, oh wow,
Yeah,
you're seeing everything. You know what I mean? Close up. So, and that sort of, and again, like, so this is actually something I haven't realized, and thanks for making me realize it. It's like that is from thinking of it visually, right? That's from thinking of it in a sort of
yeah,
like, oh, if I'm to write a screenplay, what am I writing? Who does this? What does this person do? And sort of writing that and putting what you can in the book, like putting the emotion of it, putting the thought process, because in a screenplay it's all directions, right? It's like A punches B, B blocks, B, it's all, but then you can
yeah,
put that a little bit, but then you can sort of put the emotions in it as well.
yeah.
Of yeah. So
It's got to be layered. Have you heard it on audiobook? Because of course that's a different medium, and get to hear the action.
yes, I know that was, oh my god, hearing your words being spoken are like, it's a thing on its own. And you know I spoke to the reader before, and I just told him, just, I have no notes. Just, I've done my bit, you do your bit, because he's a professional, he's good at what he does, and I listened to it and I enjoyed it. It
Yeah,
was odd, I have to say, and obviously for me, there's no point that I would be able to not know it's my words. You know what I mean? So for other people, I should probably hear what they think about it. But at every point, I'm hearing my words. At every point, like, oh, that's how that's it. Oh, that's how that's it. Oh, it's all like, that those sort of things that I'm
yeah,
getting a different pleasure entirely from other people that would be, reading the audiobook or listening to the audiobook.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because his accents were very, very good, and he managed to get like the accents. But what did you think of his accents? Like did they come across in the right tone for the character?
You know, at no point did it make me like jump out of the story. And I think that would be when
Yeah,
I'm thinking, okay, there's something wrong with that. So at no point did I jump out of the story. I'm thinking, oh, that's a bit wrong. So, you know what I mean? It all just flowed for me. It's like, again, but then I think the other point is that I don't really listen to audiobooks. So that might be it. Maybe if I listen to all the audiobooks,
yeah,
I'll sort of have more of a feel of what to expect. For me, this was like, on top of it, it was my audiobook. So it was like, ooh.
yeah,
And then you listen to it, and everything is just like, you're just going with the flow and you're really enjoying it. So I probably. What about you? What did you think of the audiobook if you read it? If you
I
listened
thought
to it?
I thought it was really good actually. Um,
Oh, thank you.
particularly when they were looking at the contractors that were brought in from I can't remember what country they were from now.
From
Um,
Nigeria.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, the two brothers and stuff, and they were
yeah,
great because their accents are different to everybody else, and he just made sure that their tone was different. So
yeah.
that's why it stuck out for me because their voices were different, which is must be difficult for him to have done right because it's very different in tone, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree, but then that's also why I didn't want to give any notes because I am sure he would have done his preparations and he would have a way he's comfortable with, and to now have me come and say, oh, I want you to do it, because I'm Nigerian, I know how to do the Nigerian accent all day, so but I didn't want that, so I am happy with
Yeah.
what he did, what I mean? And I hope others are happy with it, so I hope others like it.
And when I'm looking at the cover and I'm looking at you, um, um, did you think of you when you were looking at the cover? Because it does look remarkably like you in
Yeah, in side
person.
profile. The thing about it is, um, Quirkus and I had a debate about the cover. This was theirs, and I like it. So unless they wanted to put me on the cover without telling me, and I didn't notice until Alex told me. I I liked it. I think what was important for me during the conversation was that you see him from the back, and you see a little bit of him, but you don't see all of him. So
Yeah,
you can sort of fill in the gaps as much as you want in terms of because I'm very much, and because I'm sure my Alex Reacher is different from another person's, Jack Reacher rather is different from somebody else's Jack Reacher, or or whoever, or Harry Bosch. Until you watch until you watch it, but so it's your own person, it's your
yeah,
own creation in your head, and I sort of wanted that, and I didn't want somebody to sort of have a vision going in, but if the guy looks like me, that's wonderful, isn't it? you know, but yeah.
yeah. When your your friends and family read it, what was their first reaction? Because it
I
must be
know.
very difficult for. I've always found that authors sometimes don't show it to their family and things.
Yeah, I think I might fall in that category. Obviously, I couldn't get it away from my wife because my wife has supported me all the way through, and she read it before I sent it off, and she's read it again, and she loves it. But I don't know if it's because she loves me, this sort of thing. But like everybody, it's a bit of a weird one with the book because everybody that's read it, you know, has
Yeah,
loved it, but it's also a bit of because I'm I'm fairly I'm friendly and I get along with people, and so I don't know if that's what they see. If they like you, so they like the book, that sort of thing. So like
yeah,
I sort of don't know how to deal with that whole sort of thing. But that's my wife and my friends, but my family don't read it. They have
yeah.
no interest in it.
The way it opens is a very different to the rest of the tone of the book because
Yes,
So how did that come across? Because of course you had to read that on Bay Tales when you
yes,
yeah
yeah. And I sort of like I like that cold open.
yeah
I'm a huge fan of cold opens, and I'm even more of a huge fan of cold opens like mine that end and but they're not the central characters. You know what I mean? It's like it's about this person, and you think, oh, it's going to be about mailing and what happens to her, but it's just like, wait, what? And then for the rest of it, it's a bit like always like thinking like, where is she? What, this whole sort of thing. And it's almost the same in the second one.
yeah
That cold open just hits you. You know what I mean? Just like, oh wow, okay, this is the world we're in, like straight
yeah
off. You know what I mean?
yeah
And and sort of even the way I sort of present the person in the cold open, they almost untouchable. They seem, and then whatever happens, happens. You know what I mean? And it's like, ooh, okay, this is what we're dealing with. Nobody is
yeah
untouchable. Everybody can get it. So
yeah because
that's
I
that's why I like.
didn't kind of twig the relevance to that opening until about a third of the way in the book. Um,
That's what I love. Yeah.
yeah. Um, who who would you say influenced you to choose the cold opening route?
Again, you know, I love the influence questions because I don't really have an answer, but what I mean, in talking about it, you know, an answer always sort of comes out. You sort of think, um, but I don't, I don't know. I've read so many books, watched so many things that is just what I like. So I don't know if I who especially I got it from. I don't know what book I got it from. I don't know what author I got it from. I don't know what director or screenwriter I got it from. It's just something I really like personally. I really like it. I really like a book that opens like that or a TV show that opens like that. And even if I was to tell a story, that's how I would tell the story, and that's how I am telling the
Yeah,
story. So I don't, I don't know if I have other ideas. Let me think. The other ideas I have. Weirdly, all the other, like two Nigerian things I spoke about in the beginning, they start with a cold open as well.
yeah,
So I guess that's just me, And as I said,
yeah,
I haven't even written it, but I know exactly what the cold opens are for both.
yeah,
One is a bit simpler because one is like a private detective, so it starts with a murder, you know, and then the other one is sort of like a supernatural type, element with a little bit of Nigerian folklore and all that
yeah,
stuff. And it starts with that. It's contemporary. It starts contemporary, and something happens that just makes you think, okay, whoa, there's more to this. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's going to be a veer bright from A Good Day to Die, and there's going to be some supernatural element to it. It's going to be some superpowers and a bit of magic and all that stuff, but a contemporary, a bit hard. But I had it as hard initially. You know what I mean? I had it as
yeah,
like gritty, bloody. But then I was told to like have to think about YA, so I might have to reduce the blood and the death.
yeah.
You know,
Sounds,
so
a bit like James Oswald and with his supernatural detectives and stuff.
yeah, I know. I know. I guess James has the supernatural and he has the detective stuff, but this is not. This would
Yeah,
the supernatural thing doesn't have any detection in it. It's straight right down. It's straight bang. Like African folklore, like powers, superheroes. That sort of thing. That's what
yeah,
it is. By itself, and the other thing has no black magic or anything. It's just a straight somebody gets murdered and a fish out of water person who doesn't consider himself a
yeah,
detective. He just goes back to this is what I thought when I was in Nigeria. He just goes back to Nigeria to visit, and this thing sort of happens, and he just realizes that nobody's investigating because of who the person that died is,
yeah,
and then he just decides to just dip his toe in it, and his toe gets caught, and that's just how it sort of moves. So
yeah.
that's that plot, So so that's it. So.
Sounds
But yeah,
in,
but it all starts with cold open. So I
yeah.
like cold open.
Um, when you first decided to write, you'd already got like several degrees behind you, but when I was reading it, I was not expecting engineering degree and all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
different. So, what made you?
yeah. I know.
Yeah,
There's a very long story behind that, and I would try and shorten it for a little bit without taking too many shots at my parents. But I'm from Nigeria. I was raised in Nigeria, and you sort of do what your parents or mostly your father tells you to do. And he
yeah,
wanted me to be a petroleum engineer, which is in hindsight, thankfully not. But back then, oil and gas, and I suppose still now in Nigeria, is the oil and gas powers the
yeah,
Nigerian economy. And so he thought, be a petroleum engineer, have a wonderful job,
yeah,
you know. But I never got a say in it. I was just
yeah,
told you're a petroleum engineer. It's this bad that when you're in, I didn't because we have a different. You guys have a different system here. So you sort of do junior secondary and you go to senior secondary, and that's when you decide if you want to go into the arts or you want to go into the sciences. And on the first day of my senior secondary education, because I decided for myself I was in art class. I was going to be, I think, an economist or some random thing. And then the rota gets called, and I'm like, oh, why is my name on there? And they're like, oh no, your dad changed it this morning, so you were in the science class. That was it. So I go to the science class, and that's the rest of my life. And you know what I mean. But good for me or not good for me. I'm quite competitive and I'm sort of driven to succeed as much as I can. So I sort of did the science thing as much as I could. I came here, did university, and then did a master's as well. And
Yeah.
then, you know, so all that stuff was just going on autopilot, but autopilot while still embracing it, still wanting to succeed as much as I could.
Yeah.
So all that led up to getting, getting a job and then realizing 6 days into the job that, okay, you have to stop living for your parents or living for other people. You have to live for yourself. And I decided, okay, I
Yeah.
have to quit. So I
Yeah.
quit and came back to London because this was in Aberdeen where I got the job. I came back
Yeah.
to London and I went to film school, and then ever since then it's just been me trying to find myself and just having a whale of a time doing it.
Well, sounds very interesting. And um, my family are in science myself, so I was like curious because um, my brother works in um, drugs, and my dad um, worked in coal.
Oh,
Um,
those are
yeah,
cousins or even sisters with oil and gas.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, coal and shipping, and as you say, it's really important to the Nigerian economy and all that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
um, why other than that, do you think you your dad was interested in you going there?
I,
Because
I, I think I think, it was selfish on his part, but also not selfish in that he wanted me to have a secure future, right? And
yeah,
if you get in an industry that is powering the entire nation,
absolutely,
then that is because, as I said to you, Nigeria is sort of random place where, lawyers are not wealthy or middle class. You know, bankers rarely are. So it's like you're either an entrepreneur and build your own thing, or you work in oil and gas. That's it. You know what I mean? That is it. That is it to make something of yourself. So you know what I mean. My dad thought I was able to do it. I guess he thought I was clever enough, and he thought, okay, this is what you're gonna do, without ever once asking me. And I think now that I'm an adult and I have my own son, I can sort of see where he's coming from, but I
yeah,
wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't do it, like, because yes, I could have a secure job, but then I'll be miserable, right? And then
yeah,
it, kind of thing. And then it just defeats the whole purpose because you wouldn't enjoy your existence. So, you know
yeah,
what I mean? That, but
yeah.
then again, I can see where he's coming from.
Um, it's very different being a writer, but now you published the first book, and you said that you did food reviews. Why
Yeah,
why wasn't it a recipe book?
I know. That's something that I could probably do because I do cook a lot of like mixed, a bit of, you know, using African spices and so I love to cook. I absolutely love to cook, but it's not something I've considered doing. Releasing a recipe book. But I probably should. I could probably just start writing a few recipes down. If I get enough, then maybe I'll think about it. But no. And it's I love food. Love to eat. Love to cook. Love to eat. Love to watch cooking programs. I love everything about it. So it was just my girlfriend at the time, and who's now my wife, we both love to go out to eat. So we just thought, why don't we just do something from it? So we decided to start writing blogs about it and start making video blogs about it, and just like we just did it for fun. We weren't really trying to, build anything off it, but it started to grow naturally. And then, you know, the pandemic hit and sort of like put a stop to all that. But we loved it while it lasted. We did plan to get back to it, but then we got pregnant. Well, she got pregnant, so we had to put that on
Yeah.
pause.
So if you were to advise people on your favorite recipe, what would it be and why?
My favorite thing to cook at the moment is a roast chicken, a butter basted roast chicken with suya spice. Suya spice is sort of like Nigerian spice. It's like really spicy, like packs a punch. But if you so how it goes, again, I'm not gonna bore you. So what you do, obviously, you get the you buy your whole chicken, you leave it out to get to room temp, and then so in a blender, or you can do it by hand if you want. You blend some thyme, some rosemary, sage, garlic, and some butter. Put a whole 250 250 grams of butter in it, and then you blend it together. And then when you've blended this whole thing together, and then you put the actual suya spice, you can get it. You can get it on eBay or Amazon. You know what I mean? So you can get it. You pour it in, and then you make the whole thing like some suya sort of like butter thing, and then you coat the entire bit of the bird with this butter concoction. And then you also have on the side some suya spice, some dry suya spice. You mix it with some chilies, some paprika, whatever, and just put it all over it. And then also put some, garlic, fresh garlic cloves and whatnot. Put it in there. Put it in there for whatever the recommended time on the chicken. And every 30 minutes, bring it out and just take whatever butter sauce that is melted and just douse it. And then just do it. And then after the time is, you cover it for 10 minutes. And then you have an incredible roast chicken, which is a mix of the British butter-based roast chicken and some suya spice with it. So it is amazing. The only bad thing about it is that the house smells for a bit afterwards because of all the spice. It's like, oh my God. But then we sort of cracked it because it almost doesn't smell. It smells because obviously when you get the foil and stuff, I used to put it straight in the bin. And we realized that's what smells. So now when it's all done, we just pack everything and go put it through the chute outside. So the smell doesn't last for so long. So yeah, but that is what I really enjoy cooking now when I have the time, which is the weekend.
With London as a background, for the book and for your life, what do you like to do when you're not writing, and where do you go, and what made you choose London as a background?
Weirdly, or luckily, I wrote an article today for Crime Time, which was about why I picked London for the setting. So this is a perfect question for me. I love London. London is my favorite city in the world, and I can remember when I came here, to live as opposed to for holiday. At 17, and I would go to school, and I lived in Northwest, and my school was in South London. So I would take the train or the bus, and eventually on my way back home, I would like get on the bus and just get off at a random stop and just walk and just take in London. And I really love the fact that the fact that like something like Canary Wharf could just be so close to Canning Town. This sort of like very wealthy, office. There's like tall buildings with a place that is fairly deprived, and the proximity of that and the fact that in London is so diverse. Like I live in London, and I go to the gym, and they're Ukrainians, and they're Russians, and they're whatever. They're all there. They're all friendly, and it's London. And I also know people in London that live in their community and don't speak any other language apart from the language they were brought up speaking, and they can live peacefully and they can live a good life. And there's also the fact that London has an underbelly of crime, from the craze to the post-Cold War. So, like the fact that these things might be happening behind your eyes, obviously in the book, it's elevated and it's like heightened, It still seems a bit plausible. It still seems like these things are happening. It still seems like they could be, a bunch of Nigerian mercenaries running about, and, they could be, because it is London and these people are about, So that's why I really, really enjoyed the setting in London, and I love London, I really do. And, I think the only other place in the UK that I would set something is Edinburgh, because that's where I did my master's, and I sort of like enjoy that too, in a sort of like less vibrant way. It's beautiful in its own way, but it's less vibrant. And then Lagos. So yeah, so those are the places I would have set it. But the Lagos one would just be a bit weird, I suppose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't even know. Like I was talking to my brother, who's come, who's come for holiday recently. I was talking about, because when I left, I was a kid, so I had no idea about drugs or anything. And I'm like, is there like a, is there like a, is there illegal drug trade there? Like people sell stuff, and what's happening? Are they gangsters there trying to fight for territory? It all seems like so foreign now that you're an adult. But as I said, it was happening. We just weren't privy to it because we were in a different world. You know what I mean? People that lived the way we lived never had to worry about all those things. And it's that whole sort of thing of this new generation, my younger brother's generation, have sort of grown up with like, hip hop and all these people like really promoting being high or, just, that whole life of it, as a, it's the opulent life. Just so they have engaged in it and they are buying the weed. They're socializing with these people that I didn't even know existed. And he's like, yeah, these people are there, and they're doing their own thing. So that was good to know. So if it's sort of something I'll probably broach in this, thing I'm writing that's set in Lagos. But yeah, but yeah, I love Lagos. I love London. I wouldn't go back and live in Lagos if my dad is listening.
How did you get the voices for the characters? Because obviously you're no longer that age, really. I would say.
Yeah, I know. It's
older than the characters.
that is a lovely one because the way I sort of look at it is that if you live the character, then there'll be truth in dialogue. So every sort of character I write is real. I know where they grew up. I know where they went to school. I know if their parents are alive. I know everything about them. So when you put words in their mouth, it sort of works. The only thing that didn't work were the vernacular and lingo and how they talk. And luckily for me, my wife, who's a Londoner to the core, was able to be like, oh, they wouldn't say that. They wouldn't say that. They wouldn't say that. So that sort of worked in some way. And for this second book, although it's set like, I think, A Good Day to Die and when I set like maybe like 2012, that's what I have in my head. So even, my wife's younger sister, she sort of knows what the lingo is today, but the lingo is back then. I mean, I think I probably have a better, and I think the authenticity comes if the character is authentic, then the words they say sound authentic, seem authentic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, you can, but like you can't have them saying "what up" or something like that. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, oh my god, somebody's gonna dive on it and just like burn the book. But yeah.
That's so 90s. I never heard anyone say that.
Yeah, kind of thing. You can't have them doing all that. Trying to be, wearing like huge chains and like, what I mean, wearing some DMX chains and like barking or something. Like, you could do that. No matter how authentic you make them come across, you still have to get it right. You know what I mean? And I'm thankful for that.
Is the relationship between the protagonist and his girlfriend I wouldn't say it's unusual for the gangland, but getting the tone right for that is important because you need a relationship at the center of the book. When you're working on those, did you have to be in a particular mood, or did you write it linearly? Or
I have to say yes, I did have to be in a, because as you said, it is not a straight relationship, right? Because there's a lot that happening between them and that happen and whatnot. So
yeah.
I did have to get in the right mood, and get in the right frame of mind for their scenes, especially, and even because he's the protagonist and he's like strong and he projects strength, but I wanted to show that she's just as, kind of thing without ever having to limit. I didn't want to limit any of their shine. I guess that's something that Nigerians say. I don't want to have to limit any of their shine. You know what I mean? So just having them interact, you know what I mean, and be who they are all the way through the interaction and all the way through everything that happens was important to me. So I had to really write it, read it. Even the even the sex scenes, I had to I had to make sure I get it tone perfect, so she's not
Yeah.
just, the girl on the arm of the, of a protagonist. No, she's not on nobody's arm. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yes, no, it seemed to work, but I was like curious about um, whether you needed to, as you say, you needed to be in that space at the time. But the strangest bits when it went into the past, because you say that you planned it out and you knew what they
Yeah.
all did, but um, in elements of the book, you went into the past and told us why they got there.
Yeah.
What made you decide to do that?
I
'Cause-
think, less about why they're doing what they are. I think you see the growth of the characters. You see
yeah,
who they were before. You see how they've changed. You see what made them change. You sort of understand, for some of them, how they could potentially change again, or for other people, a bit like Pretty Boy, how they've stayed the same all the way through. No matter what's happened, they're that person, and just showing their growth, whether it's age or emotional or just and just see, especially because these characters, at least in this book, are from deprived, backgrounds. You're seeing whatever dreams they had in the past. Has it
yeah,
been fulfilled? Are they satisfied? Are they still trying to pursue whatever dreams, or they've just completely moved on and embraced a life of crime, or and just thinking, that 16-year-old kid, whatever ambitions he had, forget it, mate. You know what I mean? And I just like that. But yeah, it does say something about the characters. It just says something about what led to, like some of them, some of the flashbacks, if you want to call it that, help the plot. Some of them help the characters.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So, and some of them, I guess the better ones, do both in that you can see why things are happening, but you can also see him. You can also see her. You can see
yeah,
what made them what they are. You know what I mean? And so I did like that, as opposed to just saying it in a sort of exposition, like my mom left me, or whatever. Seeing it happen,
yeah,
and going through their mind as it's happening. I like that.
yeah. Because it was a really interesting way to um, bring apart the second part of the book, and I just wondered if you'd seen anyone do that before, and that was why, possibly.
No, weirdly, again, this is one of those things where, off the top of my head, I don't think I've seen it before. I don't think I've seen it happen, or maybe I have, and I'm just lying to myself that I haven't seen it happen. But I haven't specifically seen it happen. But I did like it as a sort of, because I did want the main part of it to happen in one day. But I did know there were important things that didn't happen in that day. You had to address it somehow. You either had to have the characters talk about it,
Yeah,
which, from a screenwriting background where they say show don't tell, I'm like, let me write it. Let me put them in the character's shoes
yeah,
in those situations. And it's a bit of a weird one, because how do you make the jeopardy real? Because you've seen them in the future, right? So they survive. But how do you make the jeopardy in that situation real? And I really enjoyed trying to work that through. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Especially some of the stuff with Pretty Boy, the situations he gets himself in the past. And you know what I mean? I have people that think like, oh, for a minute they almost forget that he survived. They're just in there with him trying to, like, oh my God, how
yeah,
is he gonna get out of it? How is he gonna, you know what I mean? But because you're reading him in the present day,
yeah,
and he's okay. But in that situation, just like, oh my God, I have to put this down for a minute. Like, what
yeah.
happens to him? So I did like that, and I did try and push that as much as I could.
No, I thought it really worked. Doing it in
Thank you.
one day though must have been a challenge. Putting the whole plot into like a 1 day situation.
I
First
think,
novel, anyway. Yeah,
yeah, I think, the sort of way I have it is, this first one, A Good Day to Die, happens in a day. The second one happens in a month that has the day in it. So there's some characters that die in A Good Day to Die that you're going to meet in the second one, because it starts at the beginning of it's a whole month, and it's sort of like moving up in the level of crime. So this first one is a bit more personal, street, and the second one is a bit more middle management, people that run stuff. And the third one is going to take place in a year, and it's going to be people that you don't even know are involved in the crime world, like politicians, business owners, like super wealthy people, and just how one situation that happens in the first book, how it absolutely just destroys everything for everybody. And obviously, in that sort of way, our protagonist, Pretty Boy, is going to be moving up in the level of crime in each one. So the first one, he's pretty much like a soldier. He has a personal mission. He's going to get it done. And the second one, it's different for him because it's not just about him anymore. It's about him and all the people, and he has to
Yeah.
make those decisions for him. And the third one is about he's moved up all the way, and you sort of like look at him grow from a man that sort of comes back with vengeance to the second one, where I guess I don't know how much to give away, where it's just you know
Yeah.
people.
Uh, yeah.
He's,
We can probably leave it there because I think
yeah,
you've layered it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No. What else is it that you've got to tell us? With 10 minutes to go. What 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 have you got lined up coming?
I think so. As as I said to you in a very brief but lovely chat before we started this, I just finished the second one. I just sent the first draft off to Steph, my editor at Quercus, and Anthony at Green Heat, my agent. And so hopefully that comes out next February. And I think then after that, I think it's going to be the third one, I guess. Just to finish the whole trilogy, as
Yeah.
I said. And then I'll put that aside, and then I have a few ideas for what to write next. Um, I guess I'll pitch all those, and whatever
Yeah.
people, whatever because I'm sure I'll talk about it because I do enjoy talking about my ideas, and whatever traction, whatever the editor likes or whatever the agent likes, that's what I'll write next. But I do have I do have several ideas of how I want to go. Some of them are even hard sci-fi, but I am aware that, if you build a sort of like name or recognition as a thriller, crime thriller author, it's very difficult to just put your name on, sci-fi.
Yeah.
So these are all the things I'll have to consider, but, I don't like for ideas. So,
Or
I'm enjoying this whole thing,
you can always do it
so
under a pen name, can't you? You can do
yeah, there's always that. I know,
under
I
some.
know. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So,
so now that you've got law degree and you've written a book, which way are you going to go? Because obviously yeah.
you're trying to get me in trouble, aren't you? If the law firm is listening, um, I really, I'm a bit lucky in that, the law firm I'm at they're quite nice, and it's almost like, if you're supposed to draw a Venn diagram of quality of work, reputation, and also work-life balance, I think my firm is slap bang in the middle. So, um, as I said, I was able to finish the second one while also being in the corporate team and the financial services team. It's a lot of work, it's hard work, but I enjoy the people I work with, and I would try as much as possible to keep both going. That's what I'll
Yeah.
say. I'll try as much as possible. Try my hardest to keep both going. And I also have a kid now, and if I can put him to private school like my dad put me through, that'd be awesome. So
Yeah.
I have other things to think about than just what I'd enjoy to do, because I enjoy both, but it's something I would strongly consider.
Yeah, because it's kind of amazing that you're still doing both, really. Because from doing the training to the law degree myself, I know how much work it is involving in just doing the prep for just the degree. But if you
I
work
know,
and paid for it, I know how much reading is involved in doing that and doing the writing at the same time. I don't know how you do it.
I know. Again, and I think it's also the fact that, as I said earlier, I I sort of I was for a bit there, I just sort of lived, and I just lived, and I just sort of enjoyed myself, and I found what I loved. You know what I mean? Because I was doing the screenwriting thing. I was working for the family firm. I had no reason to become a lawyer apart from the fact that I thought I would love it. So I
Yeah,
made the decision because I thought I would love it, and I have pursued being an author for all these years because I would love it. So now that I have both, why would I let any of them go? You know what I mean?
exactly. I don't blame you at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll keep doing it. keep doing this for as much as possible until the wheels fall off. Hopefully they don't.
I'm sure they won't. I mean, not many people I talk to that have done the first book have already layered out the following two.
I know, but again, as I was saying, the engineering, I mean, you have to plan, and plan again, measure twice, cut once. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, that's it. So I sort of like plan and make sure by the time I sit down and actually start to, but I say this,
Yeah.
but in writing the second one, I sort of had a plan, but a few of the characters were like, no, we're going this way, and you sort of like, oh, that's more interesting, and then you sort of like do the whole plan again because it is in my head. It's sort of like a real organic world. So if somebody unexpected dies or somebody unexpected lives, you should be able to continue because in real life that world is going to continue. You know what I mean? It's good.
Yeah.
Like things are just going to keep happening, and then you just have to go with the flow and just like, you know what I mean? Because I always say this: most rom-coms are rom-coms because of where the movie stops. They don't continue to when they divorce or when they, kind of thing. So you could decide to write a thriller from that point. It's like it ends now, but you know what I mean? Or it could be happily ever after or whatever. But you know what I mean? You can everything, every situation, you can get good story from. So.
On that note, that's a great way to end, and thank you for such a really interesting hour with lots of different bits to find out about.
Thank you so much, Alex.
No problem at all. Really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah. And I'll see everybody next week with Gillian Godden, where we go into Gangland again.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm just about to turn this off now.